There is a specific kind of silence that happens late at night when the distractions finally run out and you're forced to look at your life for what it actually is. It's a cold, heavy weight in the pit of your stomach. It's the realization that you are living miles away from the person you once swore you'd become. You know that person. You made them promises when you were younger, or maybe just last New Year's, or maybe even this morning before you hit the snooze button for the third time. You promised them discipline. You promised them a life of meaning. You promised them that by now things would be different. But here you are, still waiting for a feeling to save you. Still waiting for the stars to align so you can finally start being the person you actually respect. The problem with most motivational advice is that it tells you to find your fire. But Stoicism isn't about finding a fire. It's about realizing that you are currently drowning in a lake of your own making, and the only way out is to stop pretending the water isn't cold. We talk about Marcus Aurelius and Seneca like they were statues, but they were men who woke up every morning feeling the exact same resistance you feel. They didn't have some magical, stoic superpower. They just realized that every time they chose the easy path, they were murdering a piece of their potential. That's what you're doing right now. Every time you choose the distraction over the work or the comfort over the growth, you are committing a tiny, slow-motion suicide of the self. You are failing the person you promised to become, not because you're a bad person, but because you're addicted to the version of yourself that is safe. Let's look at the person you promised to become. Who is that really? They aren't just someone with more money or a better body. They are a person with a spine. They are someone whose word actually means something. When they say they're going to do something, it's as good as done. There's no internal debate. There's no, well, maybe tomorrow if I'm not tired. They have a relationship with themselves built on trust. And that's the part that hurts the most, isn't it? You don't trust yourself. You can't. If a friend lied to you as much as you've lied to yourself over the last year, you would have cut them out of your life a long time ago. You wouldn't invite them to dinner, and you certainly wouldn't trust them with your future. Yet, you're stuck with yourself. You have to live in this skin, in this mind, with this track record of broken promises. We live in an era that worships the self, but it's a fake version of the self. We are told to be kind to ourselves, which usually just translates to giving in to every lazy impulse. We are told to listen to our bodies, which usually means staying on the couch because moving is hard. The Stoics had a different perspective. They knew that the self is often a liar. Your brain is an organ designed for survival, not for greatness. It wants you to stay in the cave. It wants you to avoid the cold wind. If you listen to that voice, you will stay safe and you will stay miserable. The person you promised to become exists on the other side of that survival instinct. They exist in the cold wind. They exist in the moments when every cell in your body is screaming for you to quit, and you decide to take one more step anyway. Think about the sheer arrogance of later. When you say, "I'll start tomorrow," what you're actually saying is that you believe you are guaranteed a tomorrow. You're assuming the universe owes you more time. You're assuming that the person you will be tomorrow will somehow be stronger or more capable than the person you are today. But why would they be? Tomorrow's version of you is just today's version of you, plus 24 hours of extra practice at being a procrastinator. You are literally training yourself to fail. You are becoming an expert at the someday trap. And someday is a cemetery filled with unwritten books and unstarted businesses. Stoicism is often misunderstood as being emotionless. It's not. It's about being unshakable. It's about building a mental fortress so strong that your internal whims cannot tear it down. Marcus Aurelius was leading an empire through a plague and a war, and he still found the time to remind himself that his petty complaints were nothing compared to the brevity of his existence. You are going to perish. It's the one truth we all try to ignore, but it's the only one that matters. If you knew you were going to perish in a week, would you still be failing that person you promised to be? Would you still be scrolling through meaningless videos, looking for a hit of dopamine to numb the fact that you aren't doing the work? Of course not. So why is the fact that you're going to perish in 40 years any different? The clock is still ticking. Every second you spend in waiting mode is a second you are throwing into the trash. Most people focus on the cost of change. They think about how hard it is to get up early or how painful it is to work out, but they never stop to calculate the cost of not changing. What is the cost of staying exactly who you are right now for the next 10 years? It's a life of quiet desperation. It's the bitterness that comes when you see someone else achieving the things you wanted because they had the discipline you lacked. It's the crushing weight of regret on your deathbed when you realize you had the potential to be a giant, but you chose to be a shadow. That is the real cost. And it is infinitely more painful than the hardship of discipline. The person you promised to become doesn't need your excuses. They don't care that you're tired. Stoicism teaches us that while we cannot control what happens to us, we have absolute control over how we respond. The obstacle is the way, the very thing you are complaining about, the difficulty, the stress, the lack of time. That is the forge. That is where the person you promised to become is created. You don't become a diamond without pressure. You have to be willing to kill the person you are today to give birth to the person you are meant to be. It's a violent, painful process, but it's the only one that matters. Stop the bleeding by keeping the tiny promises. If you say you're going to get up at 6, get up at 6. Not 6:05. 6. If you say you're going to read 5 pages, read 5 pages, even if you're tired. Because what you're doing in those moments is rebuilding the bridge of trust between you and your future self. You're proving to your brain that you are no longer a liar. Once you have integrity, you no longer have to motivate yourself because you simply are a person who does what they say they will do. The person you promised to become is tired of waiting. They've been patient, sitting in the shadows of your mind, watching you waste time on things that don't matter. They are waiting for you to stop apologizing and start executing. No more, "I'll start Monday." You have the same capacity for discipline that every hero in history had. The only thing you're missing is the courage to be uncomfortable. Sit with that discomfort for a minute. Let it burn. And then take one small, concrete action that the future you would be proud of. Stop failing the person you promised to become. They've waited long enough. It's time to show up.